Hello, everybody, and welcome to Write Something Weird, your favorite literary show where we talk about creating cool art and building bookish communities. I'm Sophie Stern, and I'm here today with my wonderful guest, Elle. Hi, Elle.
Hi, good day. Welcome, listeners.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really excited that we were able to connect. I think your writing is really cool and interesting and important. So I'm really happy to get to ask you some questions today and talk with you about what you're creating.
I'm honored. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes. So you write a lot of different things,
Mhm.
a little bit of everything, which I think is really cool. And I wanted to ask you about your thesis. It's
Mm.
called A Romantic Frankenstein, an exploration of the subversive intersection of Gothic fiction and compulsory sexuality, and a recentering of platonic desire slash intimacy and horror representation. Is that right?
Yes, I
Okay,
have
cool.
since shortened it like a
Oh,
little bit to, I
okay.
mean, only a little by like a word. I went like, oh,
Okay.
the subversion or something. But
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
but still, same thing. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what surprised you about writing this?
Well, the first thing that surprised me was that it became a novel. It started out actually before it was a thesis. It was a short story, just retelling Frankenstein.
Okay.
Actually, just a one-off because I had accidentally read A Box of Incense as Aromantic Frankenstein. I thought that is a really cool name, and later found out it was Aromatic Frankincense. But the name stuck, and then I wrote a
Ah,
short story of it, and I really loved that short story. And I just brought it with me to workshop in grad school, and my professor went, "You have a novel here. You have the makings of a novel in this story." So the first thing is that it became a novel length, and that I had
yeah.
that in me, and it became a novel so fast. The other thing that surprised me while working on the thesis and the thesis research was I'm not the first person to have thought of Victor Frankenstein as asexual. Actually, it's been in a way mentioned in a lot of the academic discourse, in a lot
Mhm.
of scholarly articles on
Okay.
interpretations of Frankenstein. The idea that Victor is asexual because he shows no interest or keeps forgetting his bride or his betrothed, isn't really thinking that much about that, but is so obsessed with creating a new order of repopulation without
Mhm.
sex, without heterosexuality. And usually that is his folly. The interpretation is, and that is what makes him such a monster, so inhuman to like not want sex involved, to not and to take that role of birth away from women in his
Mhm.
creation, and that being his folly because a man can't do it himself or something. And then
Yeah.
with that, there's queer readings of it as well. So it's there in the discussion. But I still think my story is unique because I think this is the first that I've seen anyway. I mean, somebody could be working on something and I would support them as well if they were working on something similar out there. Or maybe it's already out there. But I think this is the first I've seen of a Frankenstein retelling that's ace, if that makes sense. So that's
Yeah.
like as an
Mhm.
identity. So how do we
Yeah.
explore that where that's not necessarily like good or bad, the queerness, but what do you do with the relationship? Okay, so that's the relationship. How do you make that relationship good? And I think that's something, honestly, a lot of Frankenstein adaptations and the original Frankenstein itself also is exploring. But I think I'm taking like a specific route with my retelling.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I love that. And I like hearing about the different forms that your story has taken, like how it was a short
Mm,
story and how it's longer now, and being able to approach the story of Frankenstein and then explore it in a new way because I have not read an East retelling of it either. So I think that's
mm.
really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think so it's really interesting. So, I'm a queer writer too, and when I was growing up, I feel like I didn't really get like those retellings, right?
Mm,
I didn't really have access to them if they existed. Whereas
mm,
now I feel like we are getting so much cool literature that's like, here's an ace story or a bisexual story or
mhm,
all of, a trans story. And I love being able to look at literature and explore it through like that sense of queerness, and
Hmm.
then push it a little bit further. That's really cool.
Hmm.
So do you have,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, yeah, I am really big on those. I love retellings and
Yes.
I love seeing all the different queer retellings that we're getting
Yeah.
now. So yeah, it's a really exciting time.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to do like another retelling of like a fairy tale or another like a folk tale?
Oh, absolutely. Like I think that's my thing. A lot of
Hmm.
my most of my stories are retellings.
Yeah.
I love fairy tales, so I have so many different gender bent retellings or
Yeah.
platonic retellings. I have a gender bent retelling of lesser known grim tales
Yeah.
Eller Rao or Donkey Skin. And I have a gay Swan Lake that I titled Gray Swan Lake because there's different things going on there. There's gray sexuality for one duo, and then there's like gayness for another duo.
Hmm.
And that's where the Swan Princess raises the ugly duckling, and the ugly duckling thinks he's going to grow up to become a human, and he falls in love with the human prince. And I love Little Mermaid, so I have
Yeah.
several different Little Mermaid retellings as
Wait,
well,
that's
like in
cool.
different ways,
Yeah.
and different cultures. So, oh yeah, I absolutely love doing that. I've also attempted a Jekyll and Hyde retelling. It's
What?
still very rough draft though. And it's a short story. It's still very rough. I'm like, this is very cringy, but the idea behind it, it's still like in very early form. But the idea behind
Yeah.
it is using the idea, I'm saying idea so much,
You're
of
good.
the potion that changes like alternate forms as a commentary on conversion therapy. So
Oh, interesting.
I still have a lot of experimenting, excuse the pun, to
Yeah.
do with that. But yeah, no, love of that. Definitely whatever I'm working on next, it's probably going to be a retelling.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I love the Jekyll and Hyde story. I'm gonna need to read that, please, when you finish
Yeah,
it. That's
once I
really cool.
get, yeah,
Yeah,
cobble
once
that
once
together.
it's ready. Um, and I like that you have done so much with Little Mermaid. I think it's really fun when writers have like a particular story that they're really drawn to. I'm like that with Beauty and the Beast, right? Like
Oh,
I'll
I
read any,
love Beauty and the Beast.
yes,
Yes.
exactly. And I've also written retellings, but I love reading
Mhm,
them because I feel
mhm.
like writers are so clever and always come up with these fun, different ways to approach the story.
Mhm.
And it's great. It's a great way to enjoy the same story in a new way.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Just the other day I wrote another poem from like the point of view of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
And in the past, I've had like a gender bent retelling of Beauty and the Beast, like a short story. So, oh my goodness, yes, that story really resonates with me too. I think
Yeah,
there's so many different angles you could explore with that one and really
absolutely.
live in that world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great one to have fun with. But speaking of poems, I did want to ask
Mhm.
you about your poem, Unrequited Love of Annabel Lee. What can
Yeah.
you tell us about this poem? I loved it. I thought it was really
Thank
cool.
you.
But what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so Unrequited Love of Annabel Lee is based off of Edgar Allan Poe's poem of Annabel Lee. And there's a couple of things that go into this. One
Yeah,
is I found out, like, we know that Edgar Allan Poe married his first cousin, who was really young. However, I was surprised to find out, I mean, different scholars are, this is in debate. We can't really confirm it without them alive here to tell us, right? To
right.
confirm it for us. But some people speculate that his marriage was actually very platonic
Okay.
and that their bond was very devoted, but it was platonic, and that his this is so weird to say cousin wife died a virgin, and their nature of relationship wasn't sexual, and it was
Okay.
still a source of a lot of love and grief. And I think about that in terms of writing platonic love and Gothic devotion together, the intersection
Mhm.
of that. So that's one thing, like in the periphery there. And the other thing is, I think I love folk tales, and I love, I guess, water-based folk tales. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of sirens, nymphs, will-o'-the-wisps, what else is there? Like Rusalki, I think they're called, in Russian folklore. Like
Mhm.
there tends to be a lot of women by the water or a spirit that takes the form of a woman,
Yeah.
and oh, that lures men to their deaths. They're gonna go drown when they
Yeah.
see the spirit. And then I was thinking, what if they're just minding their own business? What if they are not like actually like trying to seduce anyone? And
Interesting.
yeah, and then they people just chase them anyway, and then they like fall to their drowning, to their doom and stuff. So I think I
Yeah.
was like combining the idea of like a very platonic, devoted love because we all experience grief of
Yeah.
people or like some form of connection matters to me.
Mhm.
It can take different forms, but I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how if a siren were to lure me to my doom, it would be pretty easy. Take the form of someone I'm grieving, someone
Yeah.
I miss, someone I love in any way, someone I'm thinking of. And then I was also exploring, I think, a different perspective as well. So, like, say this spirit, um, well, yeah, I mean, I'm combining the folklore with the poem.
Yeah.
Is not trying to do anything. They're like their ghost or somebody is not trying to get you to join them. But the result is um you still feel that grief anyway. You still feel the desire to join them anyway. And I
Mhm.
was writing from the point of view of a speaker who is aware of this and is like just fighting this and having being very tormented by it. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I know she wouldn't want me to, but I still feel these feelings anyway. And I parallel that with, I think a lot of times in real life, queer people and ace and arrow people aren't trying to do anything, aren't trying to lead anyone on, aren't trying to
Mhm.
like seduce anyone. But the reality is sometimes people just feel their feelings.
Yeah.
And I think I was trying to get into the humanity of that. So
Yeah.
I had a speaker very aware in this version. Of course, it's an imaginative retelling, where the character of Annabelle Lee is aromantic, and the speaker is not aromantic and would
Yeah.
feel feelings and be aware of those feelings, and then he would sort of punish himself for it. And I'm not recommending people punish themselves. It's descriptive, not prescriptive, but it's just a witness to, hey, feelings are complicated and
Yeah.
we get tormented by the feelings, and people could be feeling different things and then feeling like a sort of mixed tragedy of that. And there's
Yeah.
also beauty in that. There's also beauty in still seeing somebody and um, loving somebody and like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I like that you brought up the word desire, right? Because
Mm,
I think a lot of times people feel like this word desire is only about like a sexual love, but
mm,
we can feel different kinds of desire. And I think when we put that into a story, it becomes even more powerful. And when we're aware
mm.
of, hey, we can have a character who yearns after different things or who like yearns for someone in a different way, that's really important. And I love that you have played with, I love writing about sirens too. So I
I
love that
love
you,
sirens.
I know they're so great.
So cool.
They're so cool. So I love that you're playing with them in that way. And when you're writing, do you go into a project knowing what you want to explore, or do you kind of like, do you start with this idea of I'm going to write this type of story, or do you just start writing and it comes to you?
Mm, good question. I feel like it's a combination of both.
Okay.
I usually start with a what if, and it's more plot wise. And a lot of times the inspiration comes from fairy tales or already existing
Hmm.
literature. And so I just go like, oh, but what if we have this point of view? Or what if this was in a different gender, culture? What if they were ace? What if the bond were
Yeah.
platonic? What if this were set in a different way? What if they reacted a different way? Or what if these fairy tales combine? So I start really with the what if there. And then through either revision or just spending more time writing, the real issues, I guess, come
Yeah.
through. Like the real emotions start coming through. If there's some sort of commentary that just kind of comes in the moment. Yeah, I think like it's a combination of both. I would like think about, oh, wouldn't that be really interesting? What if this? And then
Yeah.
just that's the fun prompt. And then the things surprise me.
Yeah.
The themes surprise me.
Yeah. I love that. And it sounds like you are a very curious person. I think
Mm,
that's really
thank you.
important for writers, right? Like to ask those questions of what if this, what if that, what if this other thing? Um, has that is that curiosity something that comes like naturally to you, or is it something where you are like kind of reminding yourself, hey, I'm gonna write, so I need to make sure I'm like being open and like aware of what's happening?
Ooh.
This was
Oh,
not
wait.
a pre question. Sorry.
No, wait,
I,
wait, wait. Could you repeat I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
no, you're good. You're
I
good.
like I was thinking about it, I'm like, wait.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just are you naturally curious, or is that something
Mm,
you try to cultivate?
that is such a good question. I guess okay, I don't want to brag. I think
You can brag. That's allowed.
I think I'm naturally curious. It's interesting because yeah, no, different people have used the word curious to positively describe me, and I
Yeah,
think that's a aspirational thing to be. And I think like, oh, that's a really good word for what I would like to continue to be.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I guess it comes naturally to me,
yeah,
but I think this is something that also people, anyone can just practice if you just find something that you're really interested in,
yeah,
whatever niche it may be, whatever like childlike joy it I can't structure the sentence. I'm a writer, I promise. Whatever
you're okay. You're
childlike
okay.
reaction it gets out of you or something. Like
Yeah,
I think there are just so many things to be curious about, and anyone can practice that. I don't think it's like an inherent you're born this way and then
yeah,
you're like so you have the curious gene and then um like only some people are curious and some people are not. But yeah, I think it comes naturally to me to always ask what if, or to always ask, I wonder what it's like.
yeah,
And that is something also to be nurtured, something to
yeah.
practice. Uh, yeah.
Cool. Well, and I don't want to say that queer people are better, but I do think that's something that queer people are really good at too,
Hmm.
because I do think we tend to have like that awareness of what if this situation, what if that
Sure,
situation.
yeah.
And some of it's a safety thing, right? But some of it's
Hmm.
also like we tend to be used to being in situations where people look at us and make assumptions about us,
Mm.
whether those are good or bad. And so I think a lot of times we internalize that, and that can help us with the creative side too of like tapping into our imaginations as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. I think when you are a different form of marginalized, you're
Hmm.
constantly thinking what if all the time because the mind that you're reacting with is not the default, right? It is
Exactly.
something that you're asking questions of a lot because the norm is just people just going with the flow. And then you
Yeah.
have your version where it's like, I'm trying to go with the flow, or like, or you're questioning, why is that the
Yeah.
norm though? This side's like, this makes more sense to me. And
Yeah.
okay, I think that that shines a good light on it because I mean, growing up Ace and Arrow, I would be questioning romance all the time. I'd be like,
Hmm.
why? Like romance and sex. I'd be like, well, but why is that the norm? And people go like, you'll understand when you're older. I'm like, I'm older. I don't understand. I still don't quite understand, but I'm trying to empathize. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
And that is the energy I like put out into the world, hoping it would also come back around. Yeah, and I think different layers of cultural identity or marginalization also add to that because
Yeah.
you have to be curious to figure out how to survive
Yeah.
and what everyone else is talking about. And
Yeah.
also, I guess, curious to figure out what's going on and try to
Yeah.
communicate that. So yeah, I think that's a good point there.
Thank you. I'm glad we're in agreement on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Now when it comes to that curiosity and creating stories, do you have a favorite project that you worked on that feels the most you?
Mm. So is it boring if I say Romantic Frankenstein again?
No, let's talk about
I
it more.
most recently finished that. Well, I mean, I finished a version of that for completing my thesis, and I'm
Okay.
continuing to work on it as a full Gothic novel. I have more scenes to write in between
Yeah.
in there. And I loved it. I think I really pushed myself to explore and get really passionate and really imagine more with this one. And to also join larger conversation with it. Like because of it, I was motivated to do so much research on horror movies and Gothic literature, different readings of Frankenstein, different adaptations of Frankenstein, queer retellings, monsters, just so many things in conversation. And I was so curious and excited the whole time.
Mhm.
And I think it really brought out of me um, a practice of prioritizing the way I
Oh,
express my
yeah.
love and my desires, my affection, my passions. And when I think about just some years ago, like a closeted asexual self version of me would go
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, but if I come out as ace, people will think of me as less loving, people will think of me as less passionate, people will think all my passion is like faked for some reason, and
Yeah.
people will think like this way and that. And then this is me putting out into the world some sort of tangible evidence of something that was always there, going like, oh
Yeah.
no, yeah, no, you can feel all of these things, and you can like get really into gothic love and monsters without it looking like the mainstream norm way
Yeah.
of allosexuality and allo-romanticism. So a lot of myself is in this project. A lot of curiosity, even the questions that I didn't have answers to are imbued into this project. Besides that, I would say, I mean, I also write fantasy, so I have fairy tale retellings, and that's a separate project. That's something that I have enough to put together into a collection. And some of those fantasy short stories got longer with revisions, and I don't know how to put it back. Same thing with A Romantic Frankenstein. I don't know how to put it back in the box. So we'll see what happens with those. But I also put a lot of myself in those. A lot of is optimism the right word? Like it I guess optimism, a lot of
Yeah.
hope are still in
Yeah.
those stories as well. A lot of we can have magic too.
Yeah.
Our love can break curses too.
Yeah.
And a lot of yeah, the way fairy tales have helped me survive
Yes.
um hard times. They've helped me have hope and resilience. And I wanted to put that back out in the world
Yeah.
while also having the dark and creepy and twisted things that happen in old fairy
Yeah.
tales in there. So yeah, I think those projects mean a lot to me because there's so much of myself in there.
You have such a good heart. Wait, that was so fun to hear you say all that.
Oh, thank
I
you.
no, I love your passion, and I love that you want to put this goodness back in the world. And I
Mm,
feel like it's so important as writers that we do think about what was missing from our reading when we were young, like what
mm,
representation did we want to see that we didn't get, right?
mm,
Because I know, like for me, I was a late bloomer bisexual. I
mm,
also had those conversations where I was like, wait, everyone's having this bigger conversation about like finding a
mm,
man to marry, and I'm
mm.
not thinking that. So
Yeah.
what's wrong with me? And
Mm,
I think having stories where there is that queer representation certainly would have helped me when I was younger. And so I love keeping that in mind when I'm writing, because there's going to be some little queer kid who's reading a story
yeah.
looking for hope and picking up your stories and being like, "Hey, I see myself
Oh, I
in
hope
this."
so.
Like
Yeah.
I guarantee
Mm,
it. But what about thinking of the future writers? What
mm.
advice would you give to writers who want to get published for the first time, or who are just writing a story and don't know what to do? What generalized advice would you give?
Yeah, I am published in not to brag, but I guess it's a space to brag.
You can brag. That's
I'm
allowed.
published in over 130 different venues, and that it didn't come overnight. That came
Mhm.
from just like submitting and submitting and submitting. So
Yeah.
find lit mags. They find all sorts of like small lit mags. Um, online, in person, even like in when you finish a short story collection or poetry
Yeah.
collection, you can like look up the publishers, look up the authors, read their bios. You'll find other journals or places that they've been published in, and you can look those up as well. And I would say like curiosity begets curiosity, open doors beget open doors. Submit widely. Don't take it personally when there's a rejection because you're shooting your shot to get one slot out of 10 when they got like
Yeah.
500 to 1,000 emails. But still just keep putting it out
Yeah.
there. Um, yeah, and I would also say love loudly, appreciate stuff loudly. A lot of lit mags that I submitted to, I read first, or I read
Yeah.
something on them first, and then I would be able to personally say, like in my submission emails, like, "Hey, I really loved this story, and I think this is I vibe with what you're doing here," and I would mean it. And also, whenever I started like reading a lot of horror anthologies that opened up my
Yeah.
doors as well a lot. And I would, every time I would finish a short story I really loved, I would look up the author and I would like tag the author if I could. This was easier on Twitter. I'm hoping Blue Sky catches up and I can find
Yes.
more authors on Blue Sky.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would tag the author, or I would like take a picture of the book and I'd be like, I really loved this short story. I really loved this poem, or I really loved this essay. And if you're published in something alongside a lot of other people, read everything else in there as well, and give
Yeah.
shout outs to fellow magazine mates in there, because you might get the same energy back. And everybody who puts their work out there wants to know it's actually being read and it's
Yeah.
actually landing, and nobody really knows if it's landing. So it always means a
Yeah.
lot. Um, However niche the publication is, and the more you submit out there, the more eventually you're going to find the ones that you really love, that you're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
my niche, this is my genre. We're mutually enthusiastic. But that comes from the practice of just submitting widely, loving loudly,
Yeah.
vocally, and just constantly putting yourself out there, constantly trying. Another thing I would say, sorry, this is going a bit long. I know you
You're
said
good.
generalized
You're
advice.
good.
Another thing I would say is it does help to have writing community of whatever form, whatever kind you have, that you can
Yeah.
celebrate both wins and losses together just all the time with. I was
Yeah.
in a Facebook group that was it was titled Submit Bitches, Submit, comma, Bitches. And it was fun. I'm a sucker for submit puns. But
Yeah.
yeah, and it was just a place to just literally post whenever you're celebrating. Hey, I actually submitted stuff out. Hey, I actually got it. I heard back. I got a rejection. Heard back. I
Yeah.
got an acceptance, and it was just all celebrated. And hey, this is coming out and everything. And it helped build up that momentum of, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not alone. I'm not alone doing this. And this is a practice that I'm excited to be doing. And I'm going to hold myself accountable. Here's a record of me constantly trying and failing. And now I'm thinking about Meet the Robinsons. There's a whole clip where the family they toast, like, go like, you failed, yay, and it was
I
awesome.
remember
And they're
that.
celebrating. And yeah. And then I also have like writer friends that I like to share the stuff with. I like to go
Yeah.
like, hey, I made it, I got published in this, or like, hey, I to hold myself accountable, I'm gonna send out to I'm gonna take this time to actually write, or take this time to actually send stuff out. So how would I narrow this down? Submit widely, read and love vocally, and writing community, because writing is social. That is something that our grad cohort was told, and now we just keep saying afterwards all the time. Writing is
Yeah.
social. People think it's isolated. It's not. Even when you're as introverted as me, you're reading by yourself, you're taking everything in. That thing you're reading was still created by someone in response to someone in conversation with something else, and you yourself can join that conversation. And okay, I just now thought of another piece of advice, and
Let's hear
I
it.
don't know
Let's
if this
hear
is
it,
too
Elle.
much.
I'm ready. You're good. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I guess like don't self-reject if something feels like, oh, somebody else already did that. There's
Mhm.
nothing purely original. Everything is a Frankenstein of something else. Everything is in response to something, harkening back to something, making allusions, even going as far back as like
Yeah.
ancient mythology or plays and things like that. Um, it helps to, like, if you're seeing something that's similar to yours, engage with it. Don't see it as a competition, see it as
Mhm.
conversation. And then you can see what you bring to the table as well. And so there's no pure original, but also trust that you do have something original, see it more as conversation, and it
Yeah.
gets more interesting. And I think we see that in comp titles and stuff as well, right? That's like
Yeah.
the way we're doing publishing now, right? We
Mhm.
have comparable titles where we go like, oh yeah, it's like this meets this. So
Yes,
it
exactly.
actually helps
Mhm.
you to know what's out there. There
Yeah.
could be another aromantic Frankenstein already out there, or that somebody's working on, because it still could be an idea that's already out there. And
Yeah.
even then, I can trust that they're bringing a different experience to the table because asexuality is a spectrum and Frankenstein is a spectrum. It's been going on for
Yeah.
200 years. Literally, when I was writing my thesis, I didn't know Guillermo del Toro was making his Frankenstein film. That was a surprise. And
Okay.
um, I was like, oh, wow. So people are going to think I ripped off Guillermo del Toro. Oh, no. And then my friend sent me a meme that was like, there's this old meme that's just like, oh man, somebody's cake is better than mine. And then somebody else going like, holy shit, two cakes.
Two
So,
cakes.
two cakes. And I went to go see the movie as a celebration of getting this far with my thesis. And it was great. And then I know we're doing different things and
Yeah.
it helps to see what's out there in order to be in conversation with it. So that's my many Pandora's box answer to that.
Those were amazing answers, and I agree. I think the other thing is I think the two cakes is the best way to view it, because the
Mhm.
other thing is, if an ace reader wants one Frankenstein, they're going to want two and maybe
Probably.
three and maybe five.
He
So
deserves a friend. So,
yes,
you know what?
exactly. But Elle, you have been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for all your affirmations. This is lovely.
Yeah, this was wonderful. Okay, happy writing.
All right, and you as well.